Is taking airstrikes off the table in Iran, and does he believe there's a potential path to end the protest there without military action?
Well, I think one thing President Trump is very good at is always keeping all of his options on the table.
Over the weekend, reports emerged that Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi held a rare and confidential conversation with U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, a signal of quiet diplomatic outreach even as tensions between Washington and Tehran continue to rise. According to the Times of Israel, citing Axios, the two officials discussed the ongoing wave of anti-regime protests shaking Iran, exploring potential ways to prevent the crisis from overtaking the region and further worsening U.S.-Iran relations. Israeli media outlets have described this outreach as a calculated attempt by Tehran to diffuse mounting tensions, a cautious opening that signals Iran's growing concern over possible U.S. military intervention. In the same report, Axios claimed that both Witkoff and Araghchi touched upon the possibility of arranging an in-person meeting in the coming days, though officials on both sides have stopped short of confirming any such plan publicly. These reported Backchannel contacts come at a time of sharp escalation, as President Donald Trump continues to issue strong warnings over the killing of protesters across Iran, holding the regime directly accountable for the bloodshed. Trump has repeatedly threatened possible military action against Tehran, insisting that the United States will not stand by as the death toll continues to climb amid the government's violent crackdown on unrest. An activist group cited by the Times of Israel on January 12 reported that the number of people killed in the demonstrations had now surpassed 640, further intensifying international condemnation of Iran's use of lethal force. Senior U.S. military commanders have reportedly urged restraint as President Donald Trump weighs new options for potential strikes against Iran, urging the White House to carefully consider the timing and consequences amid widespread unrest across the Islamic Republic. According to The Telegraph, advisors cautioned the president that American forces in the region would require additional time to fully prepare before launching any possible military operation, stressing that haste could undermine both strategy and security. Internal reports suggest the U.S. military has informed senior officials that its regional units must first consolidate their positions, reinforce defensive assets, and ensure better coordination among allied forces before any offensive action is authorized. Military strategists have privately warned that any rushed or uncalculated attack on Iranian targets could trigger a chain reaction throughout the Middle East, sparking retaliation from Iran's proxies and drawing neighboring nations into broader conflict, as reported by The Telegraph. Meanwhile, the White House sought to downplay speculation about imminent military action, with Press Secretary reiterating that for President Trump, diplomacy remains the first and preferred option, signaling that Washington is keeping military power as a last resort while maintaining pressure on Tehran through strategy and dialogue.
Is taking airstrikes off the table in Iran, and does he believe there's a potential path to end the protest there without military action?
Well, I think one thing President Trump is very good at is always keeping all of his options on the table, and airstrikes would be one of the many options that are on the table for the commander-in-chief. Diplomacy is always the first option for the president. He's told all of you last night that what you're hearing publicly from the Iranian regime is quite differently from the messages the administration is receiving privately. And I think the president has an interest in exploring those messages. However, with that said, the president has shown he's unafraid to use military options if and when he deems necessary, and nobody knows that better than Iran.
Go
ahead,
Steve Witkoff talking to the Iranians at the moment.
I understand that Steve Witkoff will continue to be a very important player in diplomacy with respect to Iran.
Meanwhile, on January 12th, Iran's capital Tehran witnessed a massive pro-regime rally led by supporters of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, a show of strength meant to counter international pressure and domestic dissent.